Since we have entered the new millennium, there has been a growing interest in South Korea worldwide. This has been through an increased exposure to facets of Korean popular culture, such as K-pop, Korean beauty, and Korean TV shows globally. However, while our global understanding of Korean popular culture has grown, there has also been an increase of the public's exposure to some adversities that South Korean citizens have faced. And right now, bullying is a hot topic. The severity of bullying amongst Korean youth in South Korean schools has been brought to light over the past decade. However, currently, several cases of South Korean teachers suffering from bullying and unfair treatment has become one of the most worrisome issues. This is something that I was surprised by and I witnessed when I had the chance to study abroad in Seoul, South Korea nearly 2 years ago. Near the end of my time in South Korea, my Korean language professor told us that the Korean language department wanted to go on strike due to long work hours and unfair pay. Because of this, we almost did not have to take a final exam for this class. This was one of my first interactions with the challenges that South Korean teachers face, and I was not aware of the severity of the issue until last July when I read this article. Teacher A, whose identity is anonymous in order to protect their privacy, died by suicide within her classroom on July 18th of last year. Teacher A's loved ones attribute her death to the fact that she was dealing with intense pressure and continuous calls from parents after a bullying incident occurred in her classroom between two peers that left the child injured. While this is something that shocked the world to hear, this has been something that Koreans have seen happen for the past several years. And unfortunately, this anonymous teacher is not the only one who died by suicide in 2023. There has been a reported 14 teachers who died by suicide last year in Korea, and there has been a total of 144 teachers within the past decade who has died by suicide. Additionally, according to data from the People Power Party and the National Assembly's Education Committee, about 600 teachers with an experience of less than 5 years has left the workforce as of April 2023, which is nearly a twofold increase from the over 300 who left in 2021. These teachers all cited reports of child abuse claims and complaints made by parents being the top reasons as to why they left the profession. Parents have been using the Korean Child Welfare Act to justify unreasonable requests that they have been asking of their child's teachers. The Child Welfare Act was updated in 2014 to include no child should be discriminated against based on their socioeconomic, religious, physical, and ethnic aspects in order to decrease the accounts of teachers physically abusing students within the classroom. However, currently, parents will use this part of the act in attempts to wrongly convict teachers for either reprimanding students who are initially combative in class, either by throwing items at their peers and partaking in other bullying activities, or for denying their request to provide extracurricular educational programs for just their child. It's important to note that Korean parents are not only making these claims because they are dissatisfied with how the teacher is teaching the entire class, but because the teacher, in their eyes, is not doing enough to support the individual growth of their child academically. Overall, such incidents has ignited a social uproar in South Korea beginning in the summer 2023 session, with rallies being organized by the Korean Teachers Union. The first one held 5,000 people, while the next one amassed over 30,000 participants, and a rally held in September of last year gained over 300,000 people. These rallies have been organized in order to advocate for better treatment of teachers from parents and students within the classroom. After hearing all that I told you, you may be wondering, why is this happening? Why are Korean teachers so overwhelmed, and why are they being reported for false claims of child abuse? Well, from my extensive research, there are multiple factors to consider. Historically in South Korea, there has been a social pressure for students to strive for academic success. In this homogeneous country, academic success or lack thereof is one of the clearest ways that people can be separated from each other. The problem with this is that there are only so many people who can be the best. So what happens to those who surely aren't? In Korea, the reprimand of not being the very best academically is not only do you risk the likelihood of not getting into the nation's top 3 schools, but after that, the wage gap between those who go to the top schools and land a job with a good company after graduation is almost 50% higher than those who do not attend the top universities nor work with a top company. So essentially, not excelling academically can set you up for a life that is not as luxurious as your peers. And what is it that both parents and children want for their child or for themselves? It's to be successful and to have a fruitful life and career. Because parents want to provide that for their child, just like any other parent, Korean parents try their best to instill academic well-being into their child, and their child tries their best to replicate that. However, some parents and students take it too far and use the crippling social pressure to do academically well to abuse their power in Korean teachers. This can be seen by a study done by the Korean Teachers and Education Federation in September of last year that received nearly 12,000 responses in just one day. The survey results show that 8,344 teachers experienced a violation of their rights by parents, while the remaining correspondents experienced their rights being violated via their interactions with students. 57.8% of those that reported their rights were violated by parents claimed that their parents were falsely creating reports of child abuse or sending them malicious threats and complaints. Therefore, these statistics show that being falsely reported for child abuse is something that, unfortunately, is very common. In addition to this, according to data compiled from the Regional Offices of Education, more than 1,200 legal accusations of child abuse were filed against Korean teachers in the past 5 years. And in a survey conducted by the Korean Teachers and Education Workers Union in 2022, 93% of teachers said they fear they may be accused of child abuse. This lines up with why teachers have felt the urge to quit their jobs or worse. For teachers, being reported to their supervisor or to the police is extremely embarrassing and disheartening, and it makes it hard for them to focus on their job. A lot of teachers who have been reported to either their director or falsely accused of child abuse find it extremely hard to return to their classrooms the next day. Because this report, they fear that they may be written up for any and all of their actions. This is because the child abuse claims are not only baseless, but are for things that do not necessarily involve the child's education. For example, elementary school teacher Sol Won-bin heard from the police that one of his students' parents reported him for child abuse. The parents listed 5 incidents as the basis of their claim, one of which was that Sol did not help their daughter connect to the school Wi-Fi. Sol denied this along with other claimed incidents and was soon acquitted due to lack of proof, but the damage had already been done. This experience left him fearful of teaching in the classroom, and as a result, Sol has been taking anti-anxiety medication since the incident occurred. Sol is not the only teacher who experiences heightened anxiety from dealing with the severity of parent complaints and what it means to be a teacher in a current Korean society. Many teachers experience other mental health issues in relation to their job. A survey from the Korean Teachers Union from August 2023 shows us that 63.2% of teachers have symptoms of depression, and 16% said they at least have considered suicide. These statistics show us that the adversities that South Korean teachers either directly or anticipate to face are taking a serious mental toll on the majority of the leaders in South Korea's education system. Now, where does this leave us? As South Korea and the US have had a long-standing allyship for over 70 years, I believe that it's important for the US to be educated on social struggles that are happening right now in Korea. This is because our interests in other countries can provide changes to them, and it's been proven time and time again, with the acceptance of Korean popular culture worldwide, and also with how the Korean education system adapted to the changes that globalization brought worldwide within the 80s and 90s. Exploring the adversities that Korean teachers face in a modern Korean education system can bring more awareness to these issues and to help support the fight for better treatment towards teachers in and out of the classroom. and this will allow the education system to grow once more. Today, I only addressed a few stories in detail and only mentioned a few anecdotes of the issue, but the truth is, the majority of teachers right now in Korea are dealing with the aftermath of witnessing or being antagonized by parents and sometimes students. These issues also impact the foreigner community, like myself, who have dreamed to teach or to live and even travel in Korea these days. The ongoing teacher issues and the abuse and feeling of lack of support is something that foreigner teachers at private school institutions in Korea have begun to experience within the past few years as well. Throughout my time in Korea, I talked to many foreigner teachers who have dreamed to teach, to live, and to travel in Korea, and they often leave after a short amount of time abroad. This is because the reality of living in South Korea is so different from what you expect and what you see from the media. From a popular culture perspective, South Korea is viewed as a place that's fun to travel to, as a land of new age digital and pop culture opportunities, and Seoul, the capital of the country, is seen to be foreigner-friendly, accepting, and as a happy place where people love to live. And while facets of these perceptions are true, the reality is that Korean citizens and foreigners who are living in South Korea are struggling right now. And that's a harsh truth to accept when you're living in it. This is something that I had to quickly learn to accept in my 5 months of living in Korea. One of the most heartbreaking things that I witnessed while living in Seoul is how exhausted people are with navigating their day-to-day lives. Seeing and witnessing this has always made me feel like the stories and the truth of living in South Korea needs to be shared, and that the stories, such as the current teacher adversities, need to be brought to the global forefront. Thus, instead of just facing this brute reality, I have pledged to share the truth about South Korea. And this is something that all who are fascinated by the country in any facet should continue to do in order to help South Korea become a place that can continue to be worthy to travel to and to live in for everyone. Therefore, if you find it in your heart to support this cause, please do your best to support the affected teachers by sharing their stories or even this talk, because, as we discussed today, our global voice matters, our global impact matters, and it has always reached far and wide. Thank you.